Hello and welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in again. Thank you for sharing if you share or leave reviews. Hey, if you, today we are going to talk to a client, Jay Clark out of Texas, and we are going to do some interviews because that is what you guys want to hear. People that are doing it. And so he is one of the brave and the few who said, Mary Jo, I'm happy. I'm happy to tell everybody what I'm doing and let everybody know that I'm crazy. And so we are going to talk to Jay. Jay has been a client. Are you on year 3?
No, we're just coming up on year 1.
What?
Yeah,
how come it
not
feels
that
like
long.
we've been friends forever?
Well, I think that's just my personality.
Well, welcome, Jay. Thanks for being here.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, okay, year 1. So you are out of Texas. You ranch with your family. You guys you had last time we talked. I don't get to talk to Jay every month. But last time we talked, you guys had a little wedding venue. How has that been going?
That has actually been picking up quite a bit of steam. I will give everybody listening a pro tip. If you want to open a hospitality venue, agritourism, anything along those lines that has to deal with bringing large groups of people together, sometimes in confined spaces, don't do it right at the beginning of a global pandemic. Wait until the next year. But it has steadily picked up. We're getting close to doing about a wedding and a half a month. We still get most of our business through either VRBO, Airbnb, and then also we do a lot of local events, wedding showers, birthday parties, baby showers, things like that. We have some dinners out there, but it's been picking up. It's been a really good thing. It's generated some good PR for us, and people are asking questions about what we're doing and some of our history. And so we always like to tell those stories, and it's been a lot of fun so far. So we're going to take a little bit of a break here in December. We are expecting our 3rd child. And so we're going to hit pause for about a month to 6 weeks, and then we'll get ramped up as we get ready to roll out in the spring of 22.
Awesome. Since I've talked to you guys a year ago, it's crazy how many farmers and ranchers I've talked to that are doing the whole venue thing with the barns. Or I talked to one lady that actually built a barn just for that purpose. Mm-hmm. And it has even through the pandemic, it's been awesome. I have another client, Jay, that a little tip for you guys. They actually have a wedding venue and they're putting in RV spots, electrical spots.
So we have one RV hookup, which we typically use that for food trucks that come in to cater the event. But we have lots of things in the pipeline of what we might do, from corn mazes to pumpkin patches and RV parks and building tiny houses out there where people can stay on the ranch. And it really is kind of a blank canvas. You just have to find that balance between what you want to do and what you can do.
Right.
So we'll see how it shakes out, but it's been a lot of fun so far.
So tell us about the ranch. If you would, kind of how big is the operation and who are you working with and all that good stuff?
Sure. So we go back to 1903. That was when my great-grandfather had filed a claim in Hockley County, which is near the area of Lubbock in the Texas Panhandle. And he was a freighter at that time and took his last load of freight down to Burnett, which is near the Austin area. And when he finished that, he sold all of his equipment. He bought a herd of sheep and drove them back on foot to Lubbock. And that's how we got started. The sheep didn't fare very well, which is kind of funny because that was the last time anybody in our family had sheep until I brought the sheep back into the operation about 4 years ago. So, but we're doing a lot better this time around. So, in some form or fashion, we've been all over the state, from the Texas Panhandle to Central West Texas. We are currently headquartered in Brownwood, which is about 3 hours southwest of the Dallas area, 2 hours north of Austin. We're 2 hours from anything, but it's a nice little town, about 20,000 people. And primary operations is going to be cow-calf enterprise. We do some bred heifers. We also have a hair sheep enterprise that we sell direct to the packer. So when that lamb leaves our operation, within a week, it's going to be in a Whole Foods or HEB or something like that. And then we also have the agritourism and some hunting enterprises as well. And then we transitioned from a very traditional operation in 2018 to an adaptive grazer model, which everybody's got their words out there. Are you mob grazing or ultra super duper high density? I just say it's adaptive. It depends on the day how we're going to graze, because you can't follow the formula. It's an art form, and it's something that's always changing. But so we're rolling into year 3 of that. It's been working really well for us so far. We are a family operation. My parents, Bob and Marilyn, still own all the land and all the cattle, and then I manage all of the enterprises, except my dad still has his commercial bulls, and then he likes to help with the bred heifers a little bit, and then my wife runs the wedding venue, and everything else is on my plate. And then I have a young man that I hired earlier this summer. His name is Corey, and I actually, before I got back on the ranch, I was coaching and teaching here in Brownwood, and I'd done that for about 5 years, and then realized that I didn't want to coach and teach for the next 30 years. And Dad was a little bit more willing to take on help, so that's when I came out to the ranch. But I had actually coached Corey when he was in high school, and so he went off to college and played baseball. And then when he got done, he went and started coaching, and then year into it, he said, I don't think I want to do this for the next 30 years. So I said, well, why don't you come work for me for the summer while we figure out what you want to do? And he decided he liked it enough to stick around for a little while. So, but that's what our team looks like. And I think we have a really good team. We have a lot of fun, and but we have made a lot of progress here in the last 3 years. So that's our story.
What made you switch from the traditional ranching to rotational grazing, or whatever it is I call it rotational grazing, but you're right. Yeah. There are a lot of names for it. Right. What made that transfer?
Math.
You mean you're paying attention to the math?
Yeah, you're just, if we want to become as simple as we can when we look at this, you've got your piece of the pie. Okay. This is the pie that the family lived off, and this was their business. And there's myself, and I have 2 older brothers. And so I've known all along that this is going to get cut up a couple different ways, depending who takes what off the ranch or on the ranch and what they want to do. You're not going to be working with the whole, operational landscape that the previous generation was. And so that means either 2 things. Somebody's getting nothing, or you got to pay for something. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about y'all, but when I was 23 years old, finishing my master's and transitioning out and everything like that, I didn't have money to do that. And I didn't know when I was going to be able to do that. And so when I looked across other producers, and you kind of think of it, it's kind of silly, but everybody wants to gripe and moan and groan about how they don't make any money. But we're still here. People are still here, so somebody's making money. And where do I find that money? And how are they doing it? And there must be a better way to do it. Because if everybody's going broke, like we say at the coffee shop, then in 5 years, nobody's going to be in business. Okay. And if that's the case, well, let's just go fishing and have a good time while we go broke, But so let's find a better way to do this. And I found a couple different things, and I looked at them, and, I had found out about some of the rotational grazing, and it made sense in my mind when I thought about it. Now, I could not imagine some of the technical aspects of, how are we going to put all this electric wire around our fence? And we had one electric fence when I was a kid, and it wouldn't even keep the bird dog in. And once we started visiting some other folks who had implemented that, then it really became to kind of come together at that point. So
So, and then
It was the math.
So did you implement because I know that you guys do ranching for profit stuff.
Sure.
So did you implement all that when you came back, Jay, or was your dad already looking at that sort of thing?
Well, the answer is both. He did a very, very good job managing his finances, managing his gas in the way that he knew how. Now, I couldn't say, Dad, what's our gross margin per unit on our CalCaf enterprise? Now, he would just ask me, what am I talking about? But if I said, how much do we make after all our bills are paid on each CalCaf in our enterprise? And he could get pretty close. He had a good handle on what his expenses are, what his overheads were, and he did a good job, but it might have not all been in ranching for profit terminology. So then I actually went to the school on my own, and I just jumped off the deep end. I'm like, this stuff is awesome. Mm-hmm. And so I came back and I said, Dad, we got to start doing things different. And my dad he was probably 70 at that point. And he had been running his own cattle on his own dime since he was 17 years old. And his son had just come back after a week-long school. Listen, I got all this figured out. All we need is some hot wire and some water troughs, and we're going to make money. And so there was obviously some vigorous discourse on what would or would not work. But I ended up paying for them to go to school, and they had an all expense paid trip to Wichita, Kansas, which even featured a tornado. So they come back, and it's like, all right, if we're going to do this, then we're all going to do it. And so we've been involved with Executive Link, and that first year we spent a lot of time looking at the estate and how we wanted to structure things and getting the people in the right places. And then the second year, we focused a lot more on our finances and getting our numbers in order. And then this year has really been really focused on grazing and ecology and animal performance to kind of bring some of those three pieces together. And I will tell you, they have a chart there at the school, and they say, what kind of business are you? Phase 1, which would be a startup. Are you phase 2, which you're kind of you're still pretty lean, but you've been in business, you've got things moving your direction, or you're phase 3, where you're starting to kind of fall off. You've been around for a long time, and we were the phase 3 business, and the way that it was compared to me that made a lot of sense was if I'm on the lake, because I like to go to the lake because I ranch for profit, right, and I have time to go do things. So if I'm on my jet ski, okay. And I want to make a turn, it takes about that long. And I can make a turn go any which way I want. But if I'm on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean and we want to make a turn, it's going to take a long time to get that thing turned around because you don't want to tip everything off the side. It's big and it's heavy and it's just a different animal. And our businesses are the same thing. When you're lean and you're a startup and you don't have a lot of cost sunk and land and equipment and animals and all these other things, if you wanted to sell the cows one day and come back with chickens and peacocks, you can. You can make it happen in a week. Whereas if we were to do something like that, and this is probably my own paradigm, but it would take us a lot longer to make some of those changes. Mm-hmm. So, but
like you just said it's a long-term look, right? We're not looking to have that instant gratification, which is what I find. When people look at the life insurance policy, immediately they're thinking, well, where's all my money? I need all my money right away, even though we'll give it to a 401k or an IRA and we don't have access to it. We're going to have, if you buy something just to avoid taxes, you just gave up access to a bunch of money. But we have to look long term at how is that going to change things. And so I think that the one thing and I'm not out here pushing ranching for profit. I don't care what you use, just know your numbers. At the end of the day, they're probably there's a U of M or there's a Texas A&M course I've heard about, and then there's ranching for profit. I don't know anything else out there that's teaching you that stuff, but you could have learned it and came home and not implemented it either.
Exactly.
There is a difference between knowing it and implementing it. if you're not going to implement it, it's not going to change anything.
Well, that's where the failings occur, right? Is in your lack of discipline. And discipline boils down to desire. And I guess I'm going to get on my coach soapbox a little bit, since I've still got some of those habits in me. But, everybody's going to get here in today's October 13th. So in about 2 months, everybody's going to be knee deep in holidays and cake and Jell-O and cookies. And then in another month, we're all going to be getting on a diet, right? And whether it's keto or slim fast or whatever else fad diet's coming along, we're going to be really hardcore and strict on that. This is my year and blah, 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 blah. And it's a bunch of lip service. And about the 21st of January, most of the people are going to be off the wagon because they don't have the personal discipline or the amount of desire to say that I'm going to stick to this and I'm going to do this because it's important to me that I make this thing happen. Mm-hmm. And that's where the failing occurs, is when in your mind you're saying, man, I'd really like to have a bowl of Bluebell ice cream. And for you northern listeners that don't know what Bluebell ice cream is,
we have that here.
You do?
We do in the grocery stores, yep.
That's great. I was going to say, if you don't know Bluebell, then you don't know ice cream. Everything you've had is just frozen dairy treat. But the point is, when that thought comes in your mind that, hey, I want some Bluebell ice cream, or in this example of the insurance, where's my money? Then that's when you start second guessing yourself, and you start wanting to kind of come back into this area of comfort where you're like, well, I don't mind having a little extra hanging out of a swimsuit, or I can buy this shirt, still fits good. And, we get in that place where we're comfortable, and then that's when we don't have any growth. And it's the same thing with our money. And the thing that I see is that it's really easy to manage our money and our finances in either extremely short or extremely long-term windows. And what I mean by that is that if I'm irritated at how much money we're spending, I got the credit card bill or whatever. Well, we're not eating out for a month. Okay? We've all done that at some point. It's not that hard. What's hard is when you don't want to, you say, I'm not going to eat out for 6 months. When you actually start to get some financial benefit from that decision. You don't eat out for a month. Okay, you save $200, $300, $400. Whoop-de-doo. You probably pick that up on Amazon anyway. So, but if you take that habit and carry it through for a long period of time, 3, 5, 10 years, that's when you see tangible results. On the flip side of that, going into the long-term planning, most of us, if we're financing a house, we want that 30-year note because our payments are lower. And you have no problem making that 30-year payment. That's just the way it is. Or when you go and get your car, it's the same thing. But it's that short term, like, hey, I have to take this pile of money that I worked hard for this year that I didn't know what to do with. I'm going to defer that for right now so I can have a bigger pile of money down the road. And then maybe I defer it again, and we just kind of keep moving. But it all comes down to having that personal discipline and that level of desire, because as I said when we started, that's where the failings happen, is when that desire starts to weaken. Then our discipline caves. And then next thing you know, we're on the couch eating ice cream and we don't have any money.
Mm-hmm. And the desire comes with, like you said, what's important to us. Because I talk about this a lot, just in our industry as a whole. We as agents are like, how can people not care about money? Oh my gosh, money is important. But then you look at a fitness instructor and he doesn't give two craps about money, but he cares about the fact that I'm overweight. Mary Jo, how do you not quit eating donuts or whatever it is I'm eating, right? Because I don't really eat that many donuts.
No,
but I do like baked goods.
Don't.
So, yeah. Mary Jo, how do you not quit eating baked goods, right? Like, it is his perspective is, I really care about fitness. Mine is, I really care about money. But we have to be in enough pain to make that change and see to the end what that change, what is it going to take, or where do I want to go to be disciplined enough to do that? How bad is the pain right now? Am I losing my ranch? Am I losing my farm? Is it worth it? I think it's crazy when people say, well, Mary Jo, I'm not paying $20 for a book. I don't read. I just had somebody comment on one of my Facebook ads. I don't read, but thank you. Okay. So, but they're struggling, right? So
Yeah.
I'm obviously still not in enough pain to read a book to figure out how to get out of it. And there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that Ranching for Profit can do. There's nothing that Texas A&M's program can do to get you out of there. I have a ton of clients that go through Ranching for Profit, but they come home and they don't implement it. They can't quite get their bearings about, okay, I need to sit in the office and manage it. And I think it's funny because every time I talk to you, you have your board behind you. You're doing, right? You're doing, and you've hired somebody to do the other stuff so you can run the business. Farming is a business, and we need to run the business. Because if we don't run the business, we don't have a business.
Bingo. And the only thing that I would really add to that, I'm just sitting here bobbing my head along with you. You're getting after it, and I love it. It doesn't always have to be a pain feeling. It doesn't have to be this angst of my person or my success as an individual to motivate me. Because if you hold a money and donut, if you have a pile of money and a pile of donuts, they're not good or bad. It's all about what is it for and how is it used. And so when I think about how I'm wanting to build this pile of money, it's not because I want to put another comma in my bank account or I want to pay more taxes. It's because what that money represents, that whether that's a lifestyle that my family can live, that my kids can enjoy, that whether that's things that I can do in my community or how I can support programs that have impacted me or that I believe are doing good things. And you've got to get outside of this. Well, I need this much to cover my bills, because all you're doing at that point is checking the box. And I don't think anybody that is truly successful just says, we just checked the box today.
That's awesome. I love that. Because that's very true, right? Because I talk about generational wealth. You have a policy. Remind me, is your policy on your mom or dad?
I have. Well, you can get one on my dad because when we were doing that was on COVID. And then of course he's aged out since then. So that ship has sailed. I should have paid my $20 and got a book sooner. Because I think the first 2 or 3 times I listened to your podcast, I was like, this lady's full of crap. Like, I don't want any of that insurance stuff. And, that cost me, we can do the math later on how many it cost me, but it's 6 or 7 digits. Mm-hmm. But, no, I have a policy right now on my wife, and then I have a policy on my mom.
Yes, I knew we did your mom. So that's where the generational wealth is going to come in, right? So when mom passes, now you may have to manage the money until then. And you're going to have to use the bank until then. But once mom passes, which statistically should be before you, now we have the money to use so that your kids have something that they maybe don't have to go to the bank. And so it might not be this generation, it might be the next generation, but you can foresee that and say, okay, well, this is where we needed to begin. Because we didn't do one, we did one on your wife, but we didn't do one on you because you're a tobacco user, right? So
yes, I'm still guilty.
Again, doesn't matter. You're going to die. So should still have a policy on you. But that's just to be added along the way. And it is not it's looking at the long-term view of that. How are your great-grandfather came over and drove sheep back himself. How are we going to maintain his legacy and keep his legacy alive? Which I think is a little bit funny because I can't tell you a lot. Like, I know some story of my history, but our history stories up here are not something that we really talk about like you guys do down there. But how do we keep that going for the next generation? Because you're not getting up every day sitting in an office and fixing fence just so you can get up every day, sit in an office and fix fence. That's not what it's about.
No, and I'll tell you where my passion is that if I want to be a little vulnerable, I don't want to be the one that screws it up. I just don't want to be that guy. Like, either let somebody after me, and so that's part of it. But if I want to dream a little bit, there's some property around us that there's quite a few ranches, and we manage about 7,000 acres here in Central Texas, which it's a good number for our area. We're going to be above average, but there are a lot of places that are significantly bigger than we are, and but a lot of these operators in our area are older, just like so many other areas. Some of them are already in trusts. Some of them don't have or either don't have kids or their kids aren't in the picture. And I'm looking at this and I'm just saying, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here. Why can we not buck the trend of land fragmentation, which is what's been happening in our area for quite a while, because we have a lot of influx from the DFW Metroplex and the Austin area where, mom and dad had a 1,500 acre ranch, and then the kids split it up, and now it's, for deer hunting and campers. And there's not any economically viable ag production going on there. Mm-hmm. And that's been happening in a lot of places. But if we have all this low hanging fruit around us, why can we not start putting land together like they did, 50, 60, 100 years ago, and build a larger, economically viable operation that kind of bucks the trend. And part of that, so I kind of like being the crazy person anyway. I'm very comfortable in that, there goes Jay, wonder what he's doing today with he's shocking his cows or everything else. I'm comfortable in that role. And so that really speaks to my passion on, let's put together 15, 20,000 acres in Central Texas when everybody, and I'll tell you right now, people are buying up land left and right all around us, $5,000, $5,500 an acre. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest constraint. So we got to figure out how to get some more money.
Mm-hmm. And if everybody knew that they could own or finance that land, or they could pass that land on, so with some death benefit, so that we're not having to go to the bank to buy it again, then we're saving the farm, right? And that's my big thing, is that you've got these metropolitan areas that are moving out and they're moving land there. They need to 1031 it. So they're going to go buy land somewhere else, and then they're just going to rent it to someone like you, or, everybody says it's going to go to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and the Chinese or whoever. Well, we're selling that land to Warren Buffett and the Chinese. We are, because we are the owners of it. And so now you have a farmer or a farm kid selling it to an investor. Is it for money, or is it just because we don't care about it anymore? Whatever. We have to look at how we have handed that off. And is that the best thing to do? Do we need to wait until we're dead to do it? If I am the old guy farming, do I need to wait until I die to hand it off to my kids who are just going to sell it anyway? Why can't I just sell it and leave them the money? And then I get to sell it to a farmer and I get to keep that industry alive. And so it is I think the way we do things is so normal, right? Those of us that are a little bit crazy are the ones that are really looking at how is this going to affect everybody later? How is it going to affect the industry as a whole later? The fact that you guys are looking at pumpkin patches and wedding venues and camper sites and, we're going to bring sheep on, we went from traditional to rotational grazing and more regenerative stuff. Is that it's not for everybody? I'm not going to say that it is. But is there anything wrong with looking at it? Because that Jay, he's a crazy guy. He's always got ideas, right? Well, okay, but if it wasn't for his ideas, where would this operation be today? Where would it be 30 years from now?
That's great. And the thing that I kept thinking about while you were saying that is why do we make it so hard on ourselves? You know, we work for ourselves. In a lot of cases, we work for kind of a halfway psychopath, you know, when we are our own boss. But why do we make it so hard on ourselves? And why can't we just find what works well and what we want to do and what we enjoy doing and do that? Why do we have to do things because that's the way grandpa did it, or that's the way dad did it, or that's the way my neighbor did it? Who cares? They're not running your ranch or your farm or your business or whatever it is. At the end of the day, you're the one who takes ownership for what happens on your property. So if I'm going to be the one that goes broke or whatever, if I've got to take the fall for whatever happens out there, we're at least going to do it, you know, my way. And I'm going to enjoy the way that we're doing it. Because otherwise, what's the point? You know, otherwise, go lick stamps at the post office or be a Walmart greeter. If you don't want to do it your way and what's fun for you and that you enjoy, then just go do something else.
Yeah. Or don't, if it's too risky. I think it's funny that, so I did the podcast. I don't know if you listened to my podcast I think it was last week. I'm
behind.
Oh, okay. So I was in an uproar. I was screaming into the mic for 20 minutes because I was so mad because somebody said, "Oh, don't grow hemp. You're an idiot for growing hemp." And it was ridiculous. Anyway, I just, I compare it to, like, we haven't done summer fallow in our area for years. I mean, I can't remember the last time we did summer fallow and do no-till. Like, that's just what it is no-till up here. But then I talk to people in Colorado and Washington and Nebraska, and I'm like, what, you're doing summer fallow? Like, no, yeah, no-till is, people down there don't think it works. I'm like, okay, we've been doing it here for like 20 years. It's absolutely crazy that even though people across the country are doing it, very much like regenerative agriculture, people everywhere are doing it. You just have to go out and see it, and it's not going to happen overnight. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you need to do to save your operation. I see the numbers, and I'm not like all gung-ho. Like, I get it. It makes sense to me because I see the numbers for guys doing it, and they don't have $100,000 chemical bill. They don't have $100,000 fertilizer bill. And so that's putting money in their pocket, but it's a matter of having to do it in increments. And it doesn't mean you have to just change your whole entire operation overnight. Just like you, like, we're focusing on things through the year to do that. But just look at it and even be aware of it, that it's there. Nobody said you have to do it. Nobody said it's wrong not to. But I think it is just the fear of something different. Just like you said, you heard my first few podcasts, and this lady is flipping crazy and she's trying to sell me some life insurance. And if this worked and if this was so awesome, why doesn't everybody know about it? Yeah. Why? Or if this is so awesome, when is the government going to change our rules on it? Right? It's everything. We just have to be open enough to look at it and do the research.
Absolutely. And what I would tack on that is you have to have a plan for what you want to accomplish. And it has to be something specific. Like, this is what I want to do. And now I know where I need to go. Okay. I can start to put my map together. And these are the things that are going to happen between me, where I am today, and where I want to be. And those things can be crazy. It doesn't have to be smooth sailing. You might have to triple your land base or blow the roofs off the revenue. That stuff's supposed to be in there. But that gives you the parameters and framework for how you judge new enterprises or new ideas and new things. Because if you walk through the parking lot and all you're ever looking for are pennies, that's all you're ever going to find. But if you walk through the parking lot looking for $100 bill, you'll find one.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, so what made you finally say, well, maybe this lady isn't so crazy and I will spend the $20?
Well, I listened to the first, and this was on Working Cows, and I'm sorry, I'm behind. There's a ton of good podcasts out there right now that are all ag related, and
It is
they're
hard
really,
to keep
really
up
good.
on them. It really is.
I just put them all in the same spot, and I'll roll through them, and I'll give them about 15, 20 minutes. And if I'm not feeling it, then I'll just go to the next one. So hopefully people are still listening, since I guess we're at about the 35-minute mark. So hopefully they're still there. Maybe that made them skip. But I had the benefit of seeing my grandmother's estate play out. And I saw that everyone had used life insurance for the most part as a way to pay either loans back to the estate or to pay the taxes that were incurred whenever that came down to them. There were varying situations. And of course, that was right before the Trump administration had increased the estate tax or the amount, of course, and who knows what's going to happen with that. But I saw that it could be a very valuable tool. On the flip side of that, I also saw some members in the family that had poor policies that were not structured well, that cannibalized themselves. And then they looked up and they're like, well, we were supposed to have the money to pay for this, and now it's not there. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of background where I was coming from. And so the more I listened to those podcasts and the deeper I dug, the more it made sense. And anytime that you have to change the way that you think, it's going to challenge you. And it's even harder the older that you get, because I could change my mind when I was 20 years old like that, and now, and I'm 32 now. It takes me a little bit longer but mostly because I'm doing more diligence. I've had more life experience, a little bit more since when I was 20. And I can see some things that I might have issues with. And I just started to work through that and work through it. And I think I went through 4 of your books before I ever even called you or did any of that. I really kind of fleshed it out on my own. I said, I think this is something worthwhile, and it's at least worth trying it. Because with the current administration, I don't think anybody has any idea what's going to happen. And the weathermen aren't good at predicting what's going to happen. The prognosticators are not very good. So why don't we do what's best for our business and be prepared? And that was kind of my mindset when we got into this, was let's be prepared. And if we don't ever have to use this, break in case of emergency, then we're still better off. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least I know, and hopefully I learned something from that experience that would benefit me in the future. So that's where I was coming from. And I will tell you that I have continued to shift my thinking through this process, because and probably like a lot of folks that are your customers and clients, is that we don't necessarily have a great cash flow month to month and sometimes year to year, but we do have a lot of assets and we do have a liabilities. And we get a big paycheck. We can do a lot of things with it, but we also know it has to last. And I kept thinking about in Nelson's book and then in your book, how they talked about the bank turns the dollar over 9 times. And how many times do we turn a dollar over in our day to day? And how do I turn my dollar over twice? And then how do I turn it over 3 times? And you start to pick up better things that work better for you. And I'll tell you, like, we got involved with some cryptocurrency this last year, and it's not speculative. We are in the mining business is what we're doing, because we've been looking at putting a cryptocurrency mining rig on some unproductive parts of our ranch using stranded natural gas and then also solar. And so we've started playing with some of that. But that's a totally off the wall thing that we would have never tried had it not been for that thought process. Okay, how do we turn these dollars over? How do we generate more cash flow? Because the more cash flow that you achieve, okay, the more flexibility you have moving forward to do whatever it is you want to do. And maybe that's, I want to have 1,000 cows, or I want to be able to stop being the one that has to go to the milking parlor every day or whatever it is. How do we align what we're doing with where we want to be and what goals we want to achieve? And when you get those things lined up, at that point, that's when you start having that momentum. When your feet hit the ground in the morning, you're ready to roll, and you are clear in your mind about where you're trying to get and why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of
and
a roundabout.
Cash flow, like you and I were talking before I started recording, the cash flow is super important because the policy itself is not going to get you the 100 head of cows. It's not going to get you the land. You have to put the money there first. So we have the uninterrupted compound interest. We have the liquidity. We have the control of that money. We have the death benefit to leave to the next generation. But then we can borrow against that to buy our cows, to buy our land, to do our crypto mining or whatever it is that you're into, right? To put in the pumpkin patch, to put in the outlets for the campers, to put up a barn for a wedding venue. It doesn't matter. Utilizing that money and having it work for you at the same time is what the policy is for. And so What have you used your policy for in the last year?
So the only thing that I've used my policy for at this point is I was wanting, didn't really need to, but I wanted to buy a newer pickup than what I had. And I had the cash to do it. The deal was right on the pickup. And I said, I'm going to try this insurance thing to see how well it works. And so I filled out the paperwork, and in, I think 3 or 4 days, something like that, I had the money in my account, drove down to the dealership, gave them a check, drove off in the newer truck. And then when I was ready to pay it off, I paid it off. And I mean, it was all very, very seamless. I didn't have to go to the bank and have a credit check. I didn't have to give a debt to income information or 35 pages of documentation to the bank and the last 7 years of tax returns. Which maybe I'm the one that's always tardy on this. Like, I just got my 2020 taxes done like this week. We're slow, and I think all ranchers are slow. But you go to the bank and you want to get something done, and they're like, "Well, we need your last 2 years of tax returns." And you're like, "Well, 2020 is not done yet, but I can give you 18 and 19." And then they look at you like you're a criminal, Yeah. But and I'll say this, I have good friends that are bankers. I have good friends that are involved in finance. They're not all evil, bad people wanting to suck the blood out of your children. The issue is with the concept of how the banking industry as a whole works. Yeah. And I think that has really resonated, with people this year, because it doesn't matter whether it's the bank or the government or insurance or whoever. In October of 2021, I am tired of people trying to tell me what I can and cannot do. Just leave me alone. Okay. I'm a good person. I'm going to do right. Just leave me alone. Don't tell me where I can go and where I can't go and how many people I can bring with me. And I think that's just how we all feel.
Yeah. And now with the banking, now with the proposal of anything over $600, the banks have to report that. Once again, do we really want to do business with the bank? I think if that goes through, we're going to see it. I think it's kind of ironic in a way that, don't go using cash, because apparently we have a shortage of cash. They can print whatever the hell they want, but apparently we have a shortage of cash. However, I'm going to check everything that's over $600. So Jay, I'm going to buy some cattle from you. I'm just going to give you cash, or I'm going to pay you in increments less than $600 for that transaction. But for smaller purchases of $1,000, we're going to see a lot of cash withdrawals, or we're just going to have a lot of people not depositing money in general, and we're going to be doing a lot of cash. It is, you're exactly right. Don't tell me what I can and can't do.
Yes, and here's what I can't figure out, and I may misspeak on this, but this is just my personal on what I have seen. But on the whole $600 deal, every member, board member, banker, so on and so forth, of local and regional banks, I have seen them sharing on Facebook nonstop. We do not support this. We do not want it. We are not going to do this. And I have not heard a word from Bank of America, Citi, Chase, whoever else, Barclays, whoever else out there. Why are they not doing this? And that's something
because they have the overhead.
Yeah,
because this is what, because we talk about it in the infinite banking world. It's really an overhead issue. So if the government says, I'm going to put regulations on the bank, is it really for us, or is it to put so many people in the banking system that those small banks can't make the payroll, to track it, so now it puts them out of business? Much like the new healthcare did. When Obamacare, or whatever you want to call it, when that went through, now all of a sudden we have all these reporting systems, and we have to have all these systems in place that I remember at that time, my chiropractor's like, Mary Jo, this is so expensive for me to put in place. She's like, nobody's getting a raise this year because I cannot afford to hardly do this. And it put a lot of the small healthcare facilities out of business. It is why we don't have, and I was just told this recently, it is why we don't have a lot of private healthcare systems or private healthcare doctors outside of big hospitals, because they can't afford the infrastructure. And so what kind of infrastructure do the banks have to have in place? Are they going to have 30 more employees that they can't afford? That's just going to affect everybody else, right? This isn't going to affect the middleman. It's going to affect everybody, because of the fact that you are now going to have fees in a bank. Those bank employees aren't going to get raises. Goodbye cookies, right? You go into the bank and then they give you cookies. They give you free gifts as thank yous. All those incentives are going to go away. And now it's just, please do business with us so we can survive. And we're going to have to work on kindness instead. But I just did, I had thought that I did a podcast on this a long time ago. Apparently I've not. So I just did a podcast that's going to come out Friday. I think it's Friday or the next week, whatever. That is, I don't hate bankers. And so because of the title of the bank, people think I hate bankers. No. I don't hate your banker. Your banker is a very nice guy. All he's doing is subject to the board, right? He or she can't make any decisions. The board makes those decisions. What I don't like is the banking system. The fact that we are turning money 10 to 1. And we are inflating the dollar. That is what Nelson is saying. That needs to go away. We cannot continue that, and the infinite banking concept will take that portion of it away if we have enough people doing it, not going to the bank to buy your pickup. You didn't have to have, it's not that they wouldn't have given you the money. It's just that it would have taken you 3 days of sitting at the bank for hours on end. I'll give you my bank statements. I'll give you all this stuff, where you just went online and you had your money in no time.
It really is a convenience.
Yeah. It is the control and the liquidity of money. Same thing I talk about when we bought our 160 acres. The amount, it was not, and I financed it through the bank for cheap interest. It wasn't cheap interest. My time and the anger that I had with all the stupid questions, because they don't understand somebody that works on commission. They don't understand me any different than they don't understand a farmer and a rancher.
Right.
What do you mean you had a good month? What do you mean you only get paid once a year? Like, that's how it works, right? I don't fit the box. And so it's very hard for business owners, farmers, and ranchers to go to the bank and say, hey, I don't have 2020 tax returns done yet. Because a lot of people do them right away, but a lot of people will not. Like, I want mine done. I do not push my taxes off. I want them done because I don't pay quarterlies. And so I don't ever know, like, they're going to estimate what I have to pay, and then it's never right. And it drives me crazy. And I'm like, no, I want to use my money for the next 9 months. So please be right on what I have to pay, because I'm going to use it to grow my business. I'm going to use it to create cash flow, right? And so I don't want you surprising me in October that this is what my taxes are going to be. Like, figure it out. Like, don't throw any extra on there, even though I had to pay extra.
I lost this little chunk of hair right here when I got my October surprise. It's like, I don't remember the year being that good, but the IRS says it was that good.
Yep, I know. I hear you. Okay, is there before we end this, is there anything that you want to add, say, advice, anything like that you want to give our listeners?
The only thing I would throw out there, and this is kind of my cookie cutter answer for any of these deals that I do whenever we're wrapping it up. Figure it out what it is that you want to do. What's your mission and what's your vision? And your mission, these are going to be the guiding principles for whatever it is you're doing. Whether it's farming, whether it's ranching, or selling air conditioners, a teacher, whatever. Those are your principles that guide you to do what you want to do. Your vision is, like it says, it's what it looks like. So who's there with you, and what are y'all doing, and how do people feel, and start to create this, and that's going to help guide you to where you want to be. And then go and map it out. And you're not going to get there overnight. And your map that you actually end up taking is going to be very different from the one that you draw out on a flip chart or a Post-it note or whatever. But start pursuing that. Find something to pursue. Because I think we all have that, locked away in us, that there is something that we were born to do. And whether you want to call that divine inspiration, or that you believe, that's fate, however you want to phrase it, we've all got something that stirs our emotion and our soul and our heart and gets us full of vitality, and we just want to go do it and find what that is. And let's get a map. And if these products align with that, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. If they don't, they don't. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I would challenge you to look at it, because, I think more often than not, this is going to be a tool that will help you get to where you want to be, if you have the discipline and desire to see it through, just like anything else. And like you said, I mean, it's spot on. The policy is, it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to fix all your problems, but it's the vehicle. And then your cash flow is the fuel for that vehicle. And then, hey, what's cool is you get to determine how much gas you put in there and how much you push on the accelerator. You get to pick that. So if you want to drive an old hoopty up and down the road, that's fine. But I'm hammered down. I mean, if we're going to go fast. So.
Oh, you are hammered down. I remember our first meeting. It was long. Because we got a little sidetracked and we had a good first conversation, but you're like, I'm ready. Like, you don't need to sell me this. I'm ready. Well, you had done all the research. And that typically happens when people have done all the research before they call. I'm ready. You don't have to sell me anything, right? And because there is a lot of research out there, there's a lot of good podcasts on infinite banking. There is just a lot of good stuff. And just because somebody doesn't understand it does not mean that it's not good. It just means it might not be the fit for them, or they have not completely opened their mind to it. So yeah, I like that. I agree. Do what drives you, but you have to take the action or nothing's going to happen.
Bingo. Okay, all gas, no brakes.
Huh?
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jay, for being here.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Okay, guys, that is all we have for today. If you want to hear something, please email me, maryjo@withoutthebank.com. I am happy to do a podcast on that. If you have not gotten Farming Without the Bank yet, why? It's only $20. Jay said so. So grab it now. Go to farmingwithoutthebank.com. Get it there. Otherwise, you have a fantastic rest of your day, weekend, and we'll see you next week.